I'm Adam Natali. I'm the director of SVA Theater. Welcome to the 2016 After School Special. It's part of the School of Visual Arts. It's our alumni film and film and animation festival. We have 9 screenings that have happened from Thursday and it's going till Sunday. I'm so glad to see so many families here today. It's thrilling. How many of you have been to SVA Theater before? Welcome back, and glad that some of you are new in the audience. So School of Visual Arts, if you don't already know, it's an art and design school with over 30 undergraduate and graduate programs, and we do this every year. This is the 3rd edition of this festival, which is completely free and open to the public. If you didn't pick this up and you want to see what other screenings are happening throughout the weekend, these are outside where you came in. Tomorrow, if you want to bring the kids back, we're doing a 25th anniversary screening of Beauty and the Beast, live on the same big screen, and afterwards we'll have a Skype Q&A with one of the animators who worked on the film. So today we're showing the Peanuts movie, so I hope you're all excited for that. I saw some of you decked out in Peanuts gear. And afterwards, notice these chairs. We're going to do a Q&A with some of the artists and animators who worked on the film. They're from Blue Sky Studios, and they're alumni from both our BFA Computer Art, Computer Animation, and Visual Effects program, as well as our MFA Computer Art program. So both undergraduate and graduate alumni will be up here. So if you have any little budding animators in there, they'll definitely want to stick around for the screening. But before we get to that film, we're actually going to show a short before it called Grandma's Cats Are Trying to Kill Her. And it's an adorable short. It's actually a series, but we're just going to show you one today. And it's by an alumnus from our BFA Computer Art program. Her name is Danica Parry. And Danica is going to come up and answer a few questions right before the screening with our moderator for today. His name is Gonzalo Janer, and Gonzalo is a current student in the MFA Computer Art program. So I'd like to welcome them up. They're going to answer a few questions, and then we'll see the short, and then we'll see Peanuts. The short is not in 3D, so you don't have to put your glasses on until Peanuts starts. So let's welcome Gonzo and Danica to the stage.
Okay, first off, Danica, I've seen your work. It's beautiful, it's hilarious. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So we're about to witness cats trying to murder their owner. How did this idea arise?
Well, I have a habit of keeping like a sketchbook on me, so whenever I have a cool idea, I kind of write it down. Like I'll have pages of just like elevator pitches, and if it's a good one, I'll kind of build upon that. So I had an opportunity to take some of my ideas and present it to people at SciUp for like an IP project, and they ended up picking up that one idea that I kind of woke up in the middle of the night and scribbled it on a notebook. And it kind of developed as a collaboration between my idea and like working with a writer, 2 illustrators, one of which is like my hero illustrator, did some awesome artwork for it, and like underneath a producer and manager. So it was like a collaborative effort after like an initial elevator pitch and a couple character ideas written in a notebook. So yeah.
And it went on to become a quite successful web series. There's several episodes with thousands of hits on YouTube. Was that your original plan, or did it just develop into it?
Originally, it was supposed to be like a short film that we had in mind, but they thought it would best fit a cartoon series. So it was kind of pitched as a cartoon series. So we came up with like a whole full series of episodes with a character arc and you know, kind of plot arcs and everything like that, like all the, you know, where the episodes were going to go, and we're going to sell it as a series. And then this one company, it was DreamWorks TV, ended up purchasing it as an online series, and yeah, they just finished up their 2nd season, so that's good. Yeah, yeah.
You're also a teacher here at SVA. How has teaching influenced your artistic production?
How has teaching influenced my art? Well, it's a lot of managing. So, you know, working on the pre-production for this show, you know, kind of helped me, you know, put together like managing a small team, making sure people get things done on time. Also keeping in mind like an audience, like what do 5 to 10-year-olds want to watch? What interests them? What is not appropriate to put in these shows? So it helped managing people, kind of making ideas a little more concise and just being a little better at story development. Yeah.
And finally, before we go on to watch this hilarious film, what advice could you give aspiring artists?
Always keep a notebook on you. I mean, that's like the best tool you could probably have. And, whenever you see something cool or have a cool idea, write it down. You never know when you can go back to it and use it for something. If you hear cool quotes on the subway, write it down too, because like you could, use it in writing for, story development and stuff like that. It's always useful. Also with dealing with IP work, if you do want to go into IP, make sure that you kind of, like research intellectual property and, make sure, I don't know what else to add to that. I guess write everything, write everything down, keep drawing. I don't know, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And without further ado, let's enjoy Grandma's Cats Are Trying to Kill Her.
I hope everyone enjoyed it. Joel, like peanuts? Well, I hope you'll stick around. We have 5 of the people who worked on the film, 5 of the animators from Blue Sky Studios, which also did Ice Age and Rio and a lot of your other favorite films. We have them here today. So I want to have them introduced by someone from our MFA Computer Art Department, Angelica Virgil. I'd like to bring you up here. Is she there? There she is, right in front of me. So come on up.
Hello, my name is Angelica Virgil. I am the assistant to the chair of the MFA Computer Art Department. Before I introduce the panelists today, I would like to share some really exciting news. We are celebrating our 30th anniversary this year of the MFA Computer Art Department, and we're having a huge celebration the ending of October, and we're having a reception October 28th, so we hope to see you there. I would like to introduce this fabulous panelist of 5 SVA alumnus artists who worked in the Peanuts movie while at Blue Sky Studio. We have graduates from the BFA Computer Art Department, Raymond Ross, John Paul Lavin, and graduates from the MFA Computer Art Department, Allison Balkin, Sabine Heller, and Alan Lai. Please welcome to the stage and welcome back to the moderator, Gonzalo.
Okay, first of all, let me say that was a delightful movie to watch. It's an honor having you all here, especially so close to MFACA's 30th anniversary. Thank you for being here, and congratulations on this wonderful film.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you tell us, what was your involvement in this film?
Well, my name is Raymond Ross, and I was one of the lead animators on the Peanuts movie, and so I was also a character lead, which meant that I was in charge of a specific character, which was Lucy Van Pelt. So my job was to make sure that her performance was consistent throughout, and to make sure that she was on model and stayed true to Charles Schultz's designs. So.
My name is Sabine Heller, and I was in the rigging department, the rigging show lead for Peanuts. And what I did there is rigging, basically you put some kind of anatomy in the characters, so you basically can move them around, because without rigging there wouldn't be any movement, because it's like a static model. So in a way we work very close with animation, because we provide them with the tools that they can move it.
I'm Allie Botkin, and I am in the fur department. And for Peanuts, I worked on all of the vegetation, anything with leaves on it. Because surprisingly, fur not only does hair and fur, but we also do procedural geometry like trees. So.
Hi everyone, my name is JP Lavin. I work in animation as well, but I am a technical animator, and I help oversee final animation, going through our pipeline and reaching lighting and rendering.
Hi, my name is Alan Lai. I'm the lead effects technical director. So for effects department, we're doing all the effects that including that anytime you see Pigpen is making those dust or water, smoke, that's us.
Well, these are very varied disciplines. What drove each of you to pursue them?
Well, it's interesting because everybody has a different story how they fall into animation. For me, I always loved cartoons as a kid, and I loved to draw, but I didn't know I wanted to be an animator. In high school, I went to the High School of Art and Design in the city here, and I was exposed to an internship at NYU's Center for Advanced Technology, and I met some guys there that were doing 3D, and they said, hey, you should check this out. You should do some of this stuff. So I started doing it, and as soon as I created my first cube, I lost my mind. I was like, this is so awesome. And so I just knew I needed to do that. And so as soon as I started to work in 3D, I tried to do everything. I tried to do lighting and materials and fur and everything. And I started doing animation, and I started getting more positive responses to my work. And I think that's what inspired me to pursue it more. And then I just fell in love with it more, and I just kept doing it and never stopped. So it's kind of one of those things.
I actually started out by studying something more along the lines of programming, and that was mixed with like graphic design. And then I was like, okay, what job is kind of combining that? And it was at the time when all those Pixar shorts came out, and I loved it. I loved this 3D, and then I thought, well, that's it. I love this, and it seems like it's a great combination between like a technical job and an artistic job. So that's pretty much why I went for it. And at SVA, I didn't know right away that I wanted to be a rigger. I actually wanted to do crowd simulation, mass simulation with a lot of people. But simulation then turned out not to be really my cup of tea. And so I decided, okay, no, the rigging and putting this anatomy into the characters, that's what I want to do. So, I felt like even though I didn't know right away what specialization I needed, I learned this by doing all kind of different things. And, that became what I really started loving.
Yeah, mine's actually probably pretty similar to Sabine. I started in digital design, and I was drawn to more programming stuff. And even though I really liked the artistic side of that, I was drawn to more technical aspects. So I tried out 3D animation, and I thought it was the most exciting thing I had done in a long time. So I started moving in that direction, and Fur just became a really great combination of a technical career versus artistic, and that's just how I got drawn in.
Well, when I first started down my artistic path, I wanted to actually be a concept artist, so I looked into where I could learn Photoshop, and that's how I stumbled across computer art. But I didn't realize that I was looking at something, to me bigger, and that was animation. And just I learned about it and what it entailed. And like Sabine said, I was really drawn to the technical side of it as well as the artistic aspects. And when I became a technical animator, I'm very fortunate that I found that position, because that's how I feel. Sometimes I have to make fixes to the animation on a more artistic approach, but other times there's issues with a shot just on a technical basis that we have to go through and fix. So, yeah.
I started out probably 23 years ago when I first touched the computer graphics, and I spent about a year just like playing around by myself. And at the time, there's nobody really know anything about CG, so there's no book, there's nobody to talk to. I can just play around by myself, and I started making short animation. And then finally, after a year, I made a short film, which is only like 40 seconds, and by today's standard, it's like nothing at all. But at the time, it was amazing, and it doesn't even have audio. It's just like images, and I submitted to a festival, and it got accepted. I actually won the second prize, and for me that was a really amazing experience. And I actually did it with one of my friends. But after that, because in the last few days, we pretty much didn't sleep at all to kind of get to the deadline. And after that, he just said, I will not do that anymore. So, but I was hooked. From that point on, I started making animation, and every year I make a short animation and submit to festival. And then, because my undergraduate is in mathematics, so I'm more of a technical side, but then I come to SVA to learn about art. And kind of slowly walk into this path.
And coming out of SVA, what was the transition like from academic life to a professional environment?
Honestly, it wasn't that drastic because I was so used to working collaboratively with the other students, so that when I did get my first job, that it was kind of really no different other than having a director tell you what they wanted from something. I was fortunate enough to do an internship while I was in school, so that kind of gave me that professional kind of link as well. So I think for me, it was just, being able to collaborate with the students, having a teacher tell me, how to fix something or how to do something. And then when I went to a professional environment, it was very similar, just on a bigger scale, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, for me, it was also not such a crazy transition. The only thing was, I'm from Germany, so basically after SVI, I went back and worked there for 3 years. And it was a very, very small company. So that was what was really funny, because here I was used to work in a small group as well, and also work very long hours. Well, that kind of didn't change in Germany at this very small company. It was very much like working with your friends and colleagues, but it was also pretty exhausting because you would try to finish this up together. But it was an amazing experience, and it's funny because it kind of, I think, working here in this little group and working hard and helping each other out, that was pretty much what I experienced after that in my professional life.
I think the biggest difference for me was that I have a regular sleep schedule now rather than from school. But I think it was also pretty similar in that at school I worked really hard and I still have deadlines, and I still love what I'm doing, so I think there's been a nice crossover.
Well, I always think it was always challenging for me to get my foot in the door, but once I was there and was started to freelance, or even when I started my internships, I found that having working professionals being my instructor at SVA really helped, because they held us to a higher standard, and I feel it's the same standard that was expected of them as professional artists. They held to us as students. So we learned how to communicate well, how to act professionally, how to work well with others in groups, how to criticize, how to praise. And I feel like once I got into the professional world, that really helped me transition well into it.
Yeah, I will echo what you said. It's very similar. Like, I feel like it's important to, like, as artists also, to communicate your ideas. A lot of time we bring creative inputs into the production. Like, director may have a vision, but when we start working on it, we can suggest, to make it more physically correct, you can sell the scale, you can do things, and oftentimes it's a collaborative environment that everybody will bring something to it, and you see in the final result that really shines through. And I think that experience is, from student, when we are pitching our ideas, talking to each other, helping each other out, that all the communication skill, the creative collaboration is all similar, and to me that's kind of what we learn in the production environment as well.
Okay, and tell us, what is the best part of your job?
Because I get to go to work to hang out with my friends and get paid for it. So I mean, it really is like that. I mean, you go in, you see all of your friends, you have a good time, and you're kind of going towards the same goal to make the best product that you can. So, I mean, I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's really awesome.
Yeah, I think it's amazing to be able to work for something and getting paid for it that you actually really love and have fun doing, and do it with people that are really amazing. And I actually really love that. I feel like I learn something new pretty much every day, every week that I didn't know, because there's so many people there that are really like experts in their field, and it's really cool. Just talking to them, it's like, oh, how did you do this? And then they explain it to me, and I'm like, whoa, I'm not quite getting it, but wow, it's really cool. So I feel like it's not something where you're like, oh, dead end, you're done learning. I feel like you're kind of always seeing something new, and have to sometimes also figure out something new. I mean, the movie you just saw, that was something we had never done before. It was like something that was totally different, and I would say brought everybody really together and had them do problem solving together, which I really love. It's just this, what Alan just said, this working together collaboratively, and in a really creative unison.
I think my favorite part is getting to go in and not really knowing what you're going to be doing that day. It could, for me, it ranges from doing one hairstyle of a background character to doing, I don't know, tweaking the fur of a armpit of a hedgehog. Like, you just never know what you're going to be doing that day. And then sometimes I'll be sitting in a meeting and you're in a room with 15 people that are extremely intelligent and very talented, and you're trying to figure out how to get grass to bend a certain way, and just the sheer amount of brain power that's going into making these cartoons is really inspiring.
Yeah, like everyone's saying, Blue Sky is it's a fantastic place to work, and coming together as a team and just to be able to create something special that everyone can share together and learn and love. It's just amazing. It's just a lot of fun, and it's it was something that I always aspired. It was a place I actually always aspired to be, and now that I'm here, I'm just really grateful for it. And we just have a lot of fun every day. We work hard. There's a lot of busy times, but we go outside and we play kickball, and we have meetings where we're talking about cartoons the whole time. So it's just really great.
For me, the best part is the never-ending learning. Like, for me, every day is new things. That even like when we are pushing the leading edge as we are, every year the technology keep pushing forward, and we need to learn new things. And that for me is the best part. We just keep learning, keep inspire each other, keep finding new ways of doing what we know to how to do and make it better. Every movie there's new challenges, and we just keep finding new things and learn and do it. Yeah.
And going back to your SVA experience, thesis projects are a huge part of your academic life. What did you guys do for thesis, and what did you learn from it?
I learned not to do a 40-minute short in my senior. I definitely took on way more than I should have. But I basically, it was more of something based off of the honeymooners kind of relationship between a bunny, very much inspired by the bunny of Blue Sky, and I really learned how to start something and finish it. Looking back now, I cringe, but it was definitely a learning experience to be able to sit down and say, I have an idea, I'm going to follow this idea through, and then put it in front of everybody to look at when you do the thesis show, and then everybody looks at it, and then you're like, oh my God, they have to look at what I kind of poured my heart into. But it was a lot of fun, so it was definitely one of those experiences that I haven't really done again other than working on a film. I haven't made a short since, but I really want to.
Well, I learned that sometimes you should be careful to bite off more than you can chew, because I did a short film, 3D animated, with crowd simulation in it. I'm not sure if that says anything, or means anything for you, but crowd simulation, especially at that time, was a little difficult and very hard. But I also decided to make a full story and to light it and to put materials on it, do basically everything on my own. And there is another thing I learned, that together, if you collaborate, you can definitely be more successful and often get a better result than if you want to do everything alone, because I really was set on, I'm doing everything on my own. And yes, looking at it now, definitely it's a little difficult because I think we have now, seen a lot of things and know what we did wrong, or what we could have done better. But, after all, it was a great experience just to learn and go through it and understand, okay, I've done this, and it's tough, but it's what I want to do.
I did do a collaborative project with 2 other people. We did a 3D animation, and I think some of the biggest things we learned was we can't listen to everybody. Having 3 people, we had all of our friends and family having input, all of our teachers. Literally, we had everybody watching this thing giving input, and I think the biggest thing I learned was that we had to trust ourselves and just do what we thought was right. And that's pretty difficult to do.
I did a short film as well, 3D short film called Totem. And what I learned was how to finish something. I feel the short film in itself was really nice to do, but I feel the real goal was to accomplish something that was vastly bigger than yourself. And to the date, it's the biggest thing I've ever done. I did work with another person. I did animation on both of ours, and he lit, rendered, and modeled both of our shorts. So we were working together, but just coming together and being able to take something, put it into manageable chunks, organize it, and just plain finish it, I feel was the greatest lesson. Yeah.
My thesis was a CG shorts that basically the main character is a turtle, which his shell is also it's a sword turtle, and his shell is also bulletproof vest, and he has a gun, walking in the building. And so the biggest thing I learned was, I remember was when I from first year turned second year, we need to decide our thesis, and I started to storyboarding and started talking to people. And the main thing is that I feel that at the time the render quality is not up to what I wanted to. So then I started considering for environment, I would build a miniature set and film it, and then have the characters, the CG, to composite into the environment. And I talked to several teachers, and the more I talk to everybody, just say that cannot be done. Forget about it. And I feel really lost, that I didn't know what to do. And then it was almost starting the second year, so I really need to decide. So then I told myself, okay, I'm gonna spend 1 month, build the set and film it, and then do it and do a test. And because I think I can sit here thinking about it, but I couldn't never get an answer. And if I do it, at least 1 month later, I will know whether it cannot be done. Then at least I know it cannot be done. Then I can do something else. So I spent a month, and then I did a test, and it was very successful. So I ended up just did it that way. The lesson I learned was that never give up. If you have idea, you have don't just because people say it cannot be done, then you just give up on that. You should always push for it and find a way to do it. That's my lesson. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we will turn this to the audience Q&A. If you have questions for our Blue Sky artists, you can come over there's a microphone on each aisle, or they're taking them to you.
Hi. Oh, sorry, it's very loud. So I had just a comment and then a question, and I guess it's more story related than technical related, but still wanted to just share this. I'm so in love with the story of this film. I actually work as a character educator, and I have a very kind of budding screen education program where I use film to teach character strengths to children and youth. And I find that as a character educator, I absolutely struggle to find films that are age appropriate for children and youth, that have a strong message in it, and that also don't have a lot of violence in it. And I remember when I saw this in the theaters, I was literally, that pivotal moment when he's having the conversation with the little redhead girl at the bus, I was sitting in my chair and I was weeping, literally crying my eyes out, because it was so clear to me that that's what that whole movie was about the culmination of character strengths and how that's what attracts people to us. And I put on Facebook, every parent I know, take your kid to see this movie. This is the most important movie that your child will ever watch. So first of all, I just want to relay my thanks to Blue Skies for making this film, because it's that special and that important. And then I guess kind of the follow-up question is, how do we encourage more films like this to be made so that these types of films with these types of important messages become the norm and not the exception?
That's a tricky one to answer, because, I mean, every studio is run in a different way. So every studio has either they're answering to someone else, a parent company, or some marketing company that's basically telling you what is the appropriate thing to release at that moment. What's hot right now? Is it singing? Is the singing movies important? And so you tend to go by that trend, because unfortunately it's always based off of money. How much money are you going to make in the end? It's not, I mean, that's really kind of how it goes. So it's hard. It's a tricky thing. If more people go to see those type of movies, then that will set the trend, I think. It's when they don't that starts to hurt the industry, because then the higher ups say, okay, well, this type of movie isn't the type of movie that people want to see. They want to see the violent movies or the I don't know, singing type movies or something.
But I do see a trend in our studio as well, that we are really paying attention very much to what's the message, like as the first question. What is the message of this movie? So basically, before we start, I see this now on a lot of things that we're talking about in the studio. Okay, let's summarize this. What is it? And I feel this is already a really good step forward, because I think like if the first thing we start out with is a good message, and that message is something, you know really right from the start, I think it will also make the stories and the movies better. And so far, I think I see this much more now, and than before.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're really excited about the next couple movies.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And I want to add, I think social media is very important. We pay attention to it more nowadays, and what the collective consciousness is looking at. So spreading the message on social media, how you appreciate it, I think goes a long way as well.
Yeah, just go see the movie.
Do we have another question? No.
Hello. It was a very lovely movie. Let me just first say that. So as I was listening to your experience in the school doing your thesis, I mean, obviously, when you're part of a process that's really cool like this one, it feels really good to have worked on it. But obviously, as an individual artist, you sometimes miss working on your own stuff. So there's always constant battle of working in a company in a big cool projects like that, and sometimes you have the urge to do your own stuff. So how do you? What's your story on that?
I think this is a really interesting question, because as I said before about when I talked about my thesis project where I worked on everything all on my own, I think that there is something very rewarding also about working with others together, and I feel that even especially on the Peanuts movie, we also had a huge chance. I think everybody had a way to chime in and bring in ideas, which was great because it was so open. You know, it made you feel like you were part of this in a very fundamental way and in a very creative way as well. And I always feel like, and I said it before, that on this movie specifically, we came together more because we all felt, I hope I don't, but at least for me personally, it felt like we just all were part of it, a very, substantial part of it, and we had a voice in it. I thought that was great. But like when I want to do something, for example, I love photography, so this is where I can kind of like, I have a lot of like my own projects, so where I can be my own director in a way, and I think a lot of us have side projects that we do.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I animate could be anywhere from 8 to 14 hours a day, and I teach it as well. So when I come home, the last thing I want to do is animate something. So my hobbies are definitely outside of the realm of animation. I mean, I like to build things. I like to hang out with my family and hike and just do different things other than sitting at a computer.
And the really nice thing is you're surrounded by a lot of creative people that if you have hobbies or other interests, there's a lot of people that surround you that, you can interact with and talk about these things, and they'll encourage you to, go into, try out VR or try out, there's a lot of musicians, and that's personally how I cope with my creative side, because sometimes, like they said, it's hard to get that motivation after work where you've been doing this all day long. There's other creative outlets that we can use to do that creative part.
Yeah, for me personally, I feel like, yes, we are at work all day long using the creative side of us for 8 to 10 hours a day. And when I come home, I still find that I have the urge to still do something creative. But as Ray said, it's just something different. Sometimes I'll just come home and draw a picture, or I paint miniatures. So it's just, you'll always find excuses to do something else, but it might not exactly be what you're working on. It's very fulfilling at work, but sometimes you just come home and you're just like, I want to do something else. Yeah.
I think for your question, it's come down to a choice. Like if you really wanted to pursue is your own ideas, your own own project, then that's by all means that should be your main focus. Working in a production environment, obviously you need to be doing what the production needs, and like they say, there's a lot of people have side projects. As far as I know, there's tons of people who doing their own project on the side as well. But you have to do it on the side, because you can't. You have to balance it too. And it's not like you can't do it. Like a lot of people do it, but it's up to you. You have to make that decision. It's your life, whatever you wanted to pursue.
Okay, one last question. Yep.
My question's a little more specific, I think, to the movie. It might be more for the animators and riggers, but just curious, like how much flexibility and freedom did the rigs themselves have, I think, to like shape change? Because I think especially with like Snoopy and Woodstock, there was a lot of crazy shapes going on, and I'm studying animation myself right now, and I really love movies that kind of interact between the 2D and 3D, and I think there was a lot of that in this movie. So if you can go into that, I think that'd be cool.
Let me start with that. Yes, this is, and I said before, it was a huge challenge because we literally, it's not like you have, normally like on Ice Age, we have a 3D model, and that 3D model works, for every camera angle. You're not changing it. But for Charlie Brown, for example, we had those very specific profile view, three-quarter view, and we wanted to match it exactly. However, Charles Schulz drew it, so he could do whatever he wanted to. In 3D, we had to have this flexibility, and we did have that flexibility, but it was very challenging. I think, just so you know, we worked on the rigs for Charlie Brown because he was the prototype for all the kids 2 years. That is something we normally don't do. Normally rigs take about between 4 and 8, depending on how difficult they are. But that was kind of a new high, and Snoopy as well. Snoopy and Woodstock both very challenging. Same way, they even had to be sometimes even more flexible because they are doing all kinds of things. Like we called this for example, Snoopy has the bowling pin head, we call it, where he's like, it all goes up, and it looks like an upside-down bowling pin. Yeah, he had to do this, and his whole head deformed that way. So it was very challenging, but also pretty awesome to figure this out together. And that's where we worked really, really closely together on that.
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge because from a rigging standpoint, it did everything you needed to do to hit the designs, right? From an animation standpoint, we had to redo the way that we were going to approach this. We couldn't do this on ones. It was experimented to try to animate it that way, but it just looked really weird. And so, then somebody decided to try it on 2s or 3s, and that was definitely going more in the right direction. And so that enabled us to cheat things, get the shapes we needed, not worry about the breakdowns or the transitions to the other poses, and stay as true as we can to the design. Everything from the line distortion on the mouth to the way that the character is posed. Their proportions change throughout, as Sabina was saying. So sometimes you might try to hit a certain pose. Your arm is not going to be the same proportion as it might have been for the next pose. So being able to do it on 2s definitely allowed us to cheat a lot of things. So that was really nice.
And I'll add from a fixed standpoint, it was the amount of controls that we had to correct something was immense because we were taking, a more 2D approach to the characters and they lived in a 3D world. And sometimes that came into conflict, how the arms were positioned, how the actual characters were positioned in the world regarding shadows and placement. So I feel the rigs were fantastic in that we had a lot of control and freedom in order to make these adjustments. They look simple on purpose, the line shapes, but getting there was just an incredible amount of work. So.
And
I wanted to add, I'm sorry, go ahead first.
Okay. And for fur, we had to do multiple hairstyles per, if the character was in a profile view versus a 3/4 angle, we had to do a lot of different hairstyles for each character. And then on top of that, we added something called sticky fur, where the animator was able to specifically pose the hair with a certain silhouette based on what they wanted. So there was a lot of control with that.
And I want to add, even for effects point of view, it was crazy because, I think because this movie particularly, there is a specific style to begin with, everybody familiar. So we tried really, really hard to make that style to be faithful. And because of that, all the things that, we try, making it on 2s, making the silhouette, making those, and that affects everything because, for example, they animated on 2s, so we can't do motion blur at all. So we have to find new ways to represent the motion blur. And even for smoke, we can't do any kind of simulation. We have to come up with a new way so the smoke will have the kind of line drawing quality and silhouette to it. And it's we will have to, because of one decision, and everybody have to come up with a completely new way to achieve the look. And that was actually really challenging and really fun. Yeah.
And I think that's where also everybody had to come together because, we maybe made this decision on rigging or in the animation, but then, Alan is saying, that doesn't work for us, or, oh no, that fur, how are we going to do that? So everybody was affected by this, and I think that's where we really had to have our little brain trust and figure this out. But that also was the whole fun about that, and that's what brought us together a lot.
And we didn't even have simulation to do the clothing. We wound up animating all of the clothing for the whole movie by hand. Everything
And
from
rigging
the
it.
capes, and rigging it and animating it, and it was a challenge.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for coming. You guys rock. Let me congratulate you on the amazing job you did on this masterpiece. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.